What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be recapping the Melbourne Regionals that took place at the same time as the Utrecht Regionals, as well as Santiago, by the way. So again, this past weekend there was a lot of regionals taking place, and there is another one coming up this weekend. If you're going to Portland, these are all data that you want to take a look at before you start competing, because again, it's pretty important to at least know what your competition is going to look like, and maybe you might even feel inspired by taking a look at some of these teams here, just in case you need to make some last minute changes, or lock in the team just before you can't do it anymore, right? So some interesting things happened in this regional, right? It's a little bit of a smaller turnout than Utrecht, of course, right? But at the same time, there were still some noteworthy results and noteworthy top cut teams that you're definitely going to see in Portland for sure. So there's a little bit of a carryover without a doubt, and there's some interesting niche Pokemon and restricteds that we also want to spotlight as well, just because of how they did and how they performed, and it's going to be important in how you play those matchups too. And the other thing is I also expect some new things to happen in Portland altogether, because again, the format is still new, right? We haven't really settled in just yet as far as like the meta is concerned. Lots of teams are still performing relatively well. Some new teams are also starting to perform relatively well. The very short turnaround, because again, it's still pretty fresh, right? So people are still experimenting, they're still trying different things. So we still want to take a look at that and just keep our eyes open as far as like what has been used so far, right? So as always, we're gonna look at usage rates, right? And we're gonna compare them to Utrecht actually, right? So this way we can see how the different regions match up with each other. And then we'll take a look at the top cut teams, the winning team, of course, which does have a Galarian-Weezing, by the way. And that was a theme in this weekend, at Melbourne. There was quite a few Weezing teams, especially with the Koraidon stuff, with the ability shield there. So we'll note that as well. But again, like I said, usage rates comes first. Then we'll look at the top 8, and then we'll look at the overall squads and how certain archetypes performed altogether. Okay, so yeah, let's just get onto it. Alright guys, before we get into talking about Melbourne Regionals and the results, I want to point out a tweet from String Esports. They're hosting a regulationI tournament, right? And it's the same day as the Portland Regionals. But if you're not competing at Portland and you still want to get some more regulationI practice, feel free to join this one. It's a free tournament, right? So you don't have to pay, and at the same time, you have a chance to win some money. It's a $400 prize pool, which is really, really nice. And it's not on Limitless, right? They have their own platform. So we're going to post the link in the video description below, as well as in the comments section. But you can click the link and you can register here, join the tournament, get some regulationI practice, right? If you have a team and you're trying to consider maybe joining NAIC, maybe you're looking to join or compete in a local tournament at your own scene, make sure to get some practice first, right? And this is one platform that you can join and get that practice. And again, if they get more people to join, they're going to increase their prize pool as well moving forward. So it just benefits you guys. So if this is something that you're interested in, I'm just putting it out there for them. They're a nice group of guys, and I figured, hey, let me just post this and help you guys promote a little bit. But here we go. So if you're interested, join this tournament. Link is going to be below. But now back to our regular scheduled programming and looking at Melbourne Regional results. All right, so we want to shout out Andy Brophy as well here. So Andy was able to compile some graphics for the community stream that was involved for the Melbourne Regionals. So we thank them very much, because again, it's very nice to have graphics on the screen, as we talk about this stuff. So this way, we get the best of both worlds in terms of understanding visually as well as, listening, right? So Andy was able to put this together. So look at this, right? The Melbourne meta review. Look at the restricted pairs here. So usage rate here with the Lunala and Miraidon taking first place there, 13.49%, right? And then if we take a look at day 2 from Utrecht, right? So look at this, Miraidon and Lunala as well. So that's still consistent as far as like usage rate, right? Then after that, then you've got Lunala, Koraidon, and then Miraidon, Calyrex Ice Rider. So that is almost following suit here, right? Miraidon, Calyrex also in third place at Utrecht. But in second, of course, we had the Shadow Rider and Zamazenta at Utrecht. But over here, we have the Koraidon and Lunala concept here. But again, still, at least you still have the running theme of the strong fighting type with the ghost type restricted here, right? And then after that, a little bit of a carryover from Milwaukee, right? You see the Ho-Oh Miraidon teams here. Then you get Zamazenta and Calyrex Shadow Rider. So now we're going beyond the top 4 here. And then, believe it or not, Koraidon and Calyrex Shadow Rider again over here. Okay, and then Pagos Shadow Rider, and then Shadow Rider and Miraidon. So, quite a few interesting Shadow Rider ideas, but again, all have been used before, right? And it makes sense, again, dominant restricteds, lots of damage, okay? But all in all, what was the prevailing combo? And it was the Koraidon Calyrex Shadow Rider concept, right? So, just in terms of the usage rate, there's some variance, obviously, but it's nice to see that there is like a little bit of a commonality, right, with the Miraidon Lunala at 1 and the Miraidon and the Ice Rider coming in at 3rd place. So again, those are in my opinion, those are your 2 best restricted pairs right now, in my opinion, okay? Just because they've been the most consistent so far in terms of the results, right? Not only just in the regions, but also within the ranked ladder play on those limitless tournaments. So I think they're very good. And if you had to pick up a duo to bring into Portland, I would probably choose within those 2. But that does not mean you can't use any of these Shadow Rider combinations, okay? Because again, they are starting to pick up a little bit more in usage, especially those Weezing variants. And also, don't overlook the Dondozo Calyrex Shadow Rider teams, but more on that a little bit later. Then, of course, as we look at the Kyogre teams, when we rank the Kyogre teams on our tier list that we made with Darsh, we put the Kyogres mostly within the B tier, right? And it's kind of following suit here a little bit in Melbourne. Now, yes, the Kyogre Swordfish idea did have a little bit of a resurgence within Utrecht here, so that's good, and that'll probably also carry over into Portland. But over here, as far as like usage, 2.3% here, and then 1.97. Now, again, this is usage, not success rate, right? So, take that with a grain of salt. But if we also look at some of the non-restricteds, we can also compare that with Utrecht here. But nice to see Ho-Oh again still doing relatively strong on these Miraidon teams here. And the Zamazenta Calyrex Shadow Rider, again, also still very, very good. Usually these are following like the balance cores. So, it's going to be effective, okay? Not the most exciting playstyle, obviously, but is it effective? Yes, absolutely. Is it better than the Lunala Miraidon and the Miraidon Calyrex Ice Riders? Not so much just yet, okay? But at the very least, depending on the player, it is still looking to do relatively well. And I would expect more or less the same in Portland unless something surprising happens, and just in terms of how the regional will play out there. But let's also look at the non-restricteds and let's compare and let's see if that is also following suit with what we saw in Utrecht, and as well as these dual restricted pairs. All right, so here's our graphic here for the top 12, within day 2. And again, Andy, this is a very, very nice graphic. So look at this, Incineroar at number 1, and no surprise there. How about Rillaboom here at 42%, back up on top here at number 2 there. Remember, we saw the big drop off in Utrecht here. Look at Rillaboom there at just 25%, right? So now back up to I guess we can call normal numbers for Rillaboom, because Rillaboom and Incin and Urshifu as well were always within your top 3 usage there. But 42%, that looks more like it, right? But again, the argument here with the Rillaboom dropping is there was a lot of Ice Rider teams, and it's hard to bring the Rillaboom into the Miraidon matchup when they're running their Ice Rider friend, right? So, but still, that didn't bother the Melbourne Regional, so we got to see some success there. How about Amoonguss at number 3 there? 28.95% usage there, a little bit higher, much higher actually compared to Utrecht, 20% there, right? So the Mushroom is still very effective. Yes, there's still Miraidon. Yes, that means less chance for Spore, but you have more Lunala Trick Room teams. You have more Calyrex Ice Rider Trick Room stuff. So more opportunity for Amoonguss to come in and click Rage Powder and click Spore. And if you can change terrain, then then you can still click Spore for sure. Grimmsnarl there, 4th place, 26%. And then, of course, Utrecht at 30%. So still Grimmsnarl 3rd and 4th place respectively. So again, that's still holding serve there. The screens idea, with the strong restricteds is a theme so far in regulation I, and of course we always say this, The screen support is important because when you have all these uber restricteds dishing out so much damage, you need a way to mitigate some of that. And Grimmsnarl and Incineroar are, very useful tools for doing that. They slow the game down a little bit. They make sure that things aren't just like one-shotted, okay? And of course, Prankster is very, very funny because again, Grimmsnarl, just like Whimsicott and Tornadus, they want to run more than 4 moves. So sometimes it's not even a screen set. Sometimes you could do the Jamie Boyd idea, or you can do some other ideas with, just fake tiers with the Calyrex or Miraidon here. But lots of other stuff that you can do with Grimmsnarl. But again, the point is, it's still strong here at 4th place. Then you get Urshifu and Iron Hands. Urshifu at 5th place, very interesting there. 23% versus 43%. So quite a bit of some droppage there, right? It's almost like the Rillaboom and the Rillaboom and the Urshifu have swapped places, more or less. And then Iron Hands still staying strong within your top 6 graphic there. It was 6th in Utrecht, and it is also 6th here in Melbourne, so there's some consistency in that, right? But of course, this is a strong partner on those Miraidon teams as well as the Ice Rider teams, and it's great into the mirror, of course, just because low kick does like 50% health to the Ice Rider for sure. And with Core Drive and the attack boost, it just hits like a truck, and it can take damage because usually these things are going to have the Assault Vest. They're going to keep having their HP relatively high because of Drain Punch. And of course, it's just a strong, bulky Pokemon that you can rely on. That's not a restricted. That can be a restricted just because of how good it is. Then now we get some interesting ideas here, especially with the Galarian-Weezing slot. But Chien-Pao, Ogerpon, Cornerstone coming into play, and then Fluttermane, Chew, and Raging Bolt there rounding out the top 12 there. And you see some of that here, right? There's the Chien-Pao, there's the Chew. No Fluttermane in this top 12 graphic for Utrecht, by the way. But you still got Raging Bolt there. And, Raging Bolt is still going to be a good Pokemon, moving forward, right? Just because, again, it's same typing as Miraidon. Of course, it's great priority into Urshifu. It can pressure some of those Kyogre teams that are rising a little bit more now. And then, of course, in Photosynthesis on those Koraidon teams, you're going to do more damage because you're going to get a special attack boost, right? So it's also pretty bulky. So yeah, and then it combos well with an ice partner, usually like a Chien-Pao or a Calyrex Ice Rider, looking for that Bolt Beam coverage. They're both very nice in terms of how, they'd have good synergy with each other. They cover for each other what the other cannot really KO. So there's also merit for that. And now, if we look here, the Galarian-Weezing, this was very popular on those Koraidon teams. But not only is it popular on Koraidon teams, you can also see this used on some of those Shadow Rider teams, especially with Dondozo. So, there's not a lot of checks for Dozo right now. And I'm going to go out here and say, listen, if you're a Dondozo player, right, and you have experience with it, you're going to do well in some of these events right now, just because nobody's really planning or teching for Dondozo at the moment, right? There's no Clear Smog Amoonguss, there's no Haze, okay? So, and then if you have screens too, that just makes it even harder to break through, right? So the body press stuff is looking pretty good, and it has done well so far. Not too many people are using it, but the ones who have had a pretty good success so far. So if you are a Dozo player, then I expect it to do well right now. Moving forward, maybe not, maybe something else comes in, but right now it's in a pretty decent spot with the Droopy variant and the body press stuff there, right? But again, Weezing wants to take away abilities. Think about it. No Prankster for Grimmsnarl, okay? No Intimidate for Incineroar stuff. No Terrain for Miraidon, okay? Very important. These are all things that these Pokemon need to be able to, be really, really good. And now Weezing is just saying, nah. Okay, and then at the same time, what does Weezing do? You got stuff like Taunt, you got Will-O-Wisp for the physical attackers. It's super annoying, right? And then you have the Poison Gas stuff, where you're just, making sure that the opponents are just losing their health over time. Now, things get in range for Astro Barrage from the Calyrex, okay, or the Dondozos, right? And then it's just not a great time. So the Weezing, if you are able to position and pilot it correctly, is a very, very good support Pokemon, because Weezing is one of those mons I always say looks very good on paper, but if you're someone who's just starting out, or someone who's fairly new and you don't really know, or your fundamentals are not sound in terms of placing and positioning, then the Weezing can be a dead slot, and it just doesn't deal that much damage. But if you know how to manage it, then it makes all the difference, right? Because sometimes you actually do need to pivot it in and out and get those abilities working, get that terrain going, get that intimidate going when you do pivot it out, okay? But, you know, this is like a whole separate kind of video, right? I could give like a whole crash course on how to use Galarian-Weezing, but I'm just listing a few of the common reasons why it looked like it did relatively well. And it probably will pick up a little bit more now that it has had some really, really strong results, not just on one team, but several few teams there, right? So speaking of those teams, let's actually look at them. So this way we can see how people have used Galarian-Weezing at this regional. All right, let's actually look at some of these top 8 teams here. So Masayoshi Kuro, you know, taking it home here with the Galarian-Weezing, as we said, the Koraidon Calyrex Shadow Rider, again following suit here, you know, for the core of your squad. So you have the ability shield on the Koraidon, which means you get to have your weather. All right, you get to have control. The opponent cannot if they want to bring in their Kyogre or whatnot. And again, like I said, if the Tornadus wants to use Prankster Rain Dance, it can still use Rain Dance, but it won't be Prankster. So you can get the jump on it and just simply KO it, you know, depending on the spread that it has there, and as well as the Terror, right? So that is an option. You can outspeed it naturally, so that's good. Then you have the Shadow Rider here with the Sash Encore, of course, very strong and, you know, very devastating if you can click it at the right spot. And it's non-Prankster too, so that also makes it very, very nice. Fast Encore that's not Prankster is always very, very effective. Then Instant, of course, with the goggles here. Standard Instant, honestly, nothing really too crazy there. The Chia with the Scarf there, opting for Flamethrower over Overheat, that's just, you know, personal preference kind of thing. And the Weezing here, it's Taunt and Will-O-Wisp, like we mentioned. Very common 2 moves to run on a Weezing. It is Play Rough though. It's physical move, not special like Dazzling Gleam or whatnot. So, you know, at least avoiding the wide guard, it is to my understanding there. So that's cool. You just have the chance to miss. And then the Walking Wake, by the way, you got to see it clutch up a nice, really, really big win there with the Aqua Jet there. So that's kind of interesting there. But the AV Walking Wake with Snarl, so bulky support there, right? You have the physical damage mitigation with the Instant Intimidate. Now you got the special side with the Snarl Walking Wake. Okay, with Photosynthesis, you get a speed boost. You know, you get to move faster than some of these Miraidons, some of these Calyrexes, the Lunalas. You break their Sash, you break their, you know, Shadow Shield, and then, you know, they don't deal as much damage as they would want because they're -1 with the Snarl. And then Priority Aqua Jet at the very least, you know, even though not great in the sun, but at the, you know, at least you can break Sash and maybe the Calyrex can pick up KOs, right? And then Hydro Steam and Draco are just relatively standard there. So, yeah. Really cool squad. I'm not gonna lie, it's great to see this win. There's actually a few variants of this, but of course it all starts with the Weezing, Koraidon, and the Ghost Restricted Core, and you'll see that as we show you some of the other ones. Okay, but let's look at number 2 here from Jude Lee, right? Very, very strong player that we've seen perform very, very well in some of the online tours, you know, over the last few years. It's Calyrex Pagos, right? We've seen this before plenty. Okay, it's just like, you know, bring me the fake out, boys. Give me the redirection. Let me set up the Calm Mind, and let me try and just blow up your terrain, blow up your weather that you ever so much rely on if you're a Miraidon user or a Koraidon user. And then I'm just going to click the Terra Starstorm button, and then you get melted. And then the Calyrex, you know, nice support here with the Will-O-Wisp and the Pollen Puff, by the way. Don't forget, you can Pollen Puff your own Pagos. And that's important if you can keep it at full HP because of, you know, again, the ability that it can have, you know, just resisting moves in that first go. Then, again, the Flutter Mane here with the Icy Wind, Taunt, and Thunder Wave. No Protect on this Flutter Mane, right? So double speed control move, and then you do have the Taunt over there, so that's cool. And then right here, more balanced stuff with Shadow Rider, Zamazenta. Again, the Fake Out stuff, the Redirection. This is the Nasty Plot Calyrex variant. And then the Zamazenta is over here giving you that wide guard support. Very standard CSR Zamazenta team. Nothing really too crazy there. The Black Glasses Urshifu is also really cool. You could get to this is your breaker damage, especially when, you know, when Grimmsnarl comes out here and sets up screens. You have the Urshifu to ignore that. Then you got Scott Kennedy here. Okay, you got the Ape with Coaching and Final Gambit. It's pretty good with Calyrex here, especially if you want to try and set up Trick Room. Indeedee and Iron Hands and Miraidon. So double terrain there. We saw this before with like Rillaboom double terrain with Miraidon and Lunala stuff. Usually it was the Calm Mind Lunala variant. But none of this is Calm Mind. This is just saying, look, I have an Indeedee here, and I'm going to try and run this with Calyrex. Okay, and then I'm going to add the core of Miraidon Screens and Iron Hands. Okay, so we got 2 essences of the core on one team. And sometimes you may need to pivot in and out the Indeedee and override your own Miraidon terrain depending on how things go, especially if they want to fake you out. There is no Ferrigraph here, so at the very least, the Indeedee can help you against that because of your second terrain, right? So Iron Hands here is Electric Seed, so that's interesting. Nice little defense boost, I guess. Drain Punch, Wild Charge, Low Kick, Fake Out, still standard set here. And honestly, this entire team has only one Pokemon as Protect here. It's the Calyrex, right? Which is fine. You know, a lot of these ones don't rely on Protect, especially like a Grimmsnarl or a Scarf Ape. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty interesting take there. Look at this hop, by the way. Oh, wait a second. I'm just looking at this now. Wait a minute. I thought this was like double train Indeedee. I apologize. This is synchronized. Oh, this is synchronized Indeedee. There is the fake out there. I should have looked at this first before I started ranting off about double terrain there. Oh my goodness. Okay, Sid, I want to know the real. How did this come to be? What is the lore behind this Scott Kennedy? I must know the story. If he watches this, I don't know if he does, but I would love to know in the comments section. All right, Bingjie Wong over here. Wong Bingjie. Look at this. Amoonguss, Incin, Rillaboom, Urshifu, you know, exciting standard Pokemon. And then Calyrex Ice Rider and Miraidon. Nothing too crazy here. There's the Leech Seed Calyrex. What else you want me to say about this, guys? What else you want me to say? Alistair. Ooh, okay, here we go. CSR Zam. Okay, again, familiar core ideas. Here's the Raging Bolt. There's the CSR Pollen Puff Psychic Sash. There's the Zamazenta. Pretty standard squad. There's actually quite a bit of Calyrex Shadow Rider teams within the top 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 4. No, 5. Wow, 5 Calyrex Shadow Riders within the top 8. I don't think we had this many in Utrecht, by the way. So nice to see a little bit of a difference in that sense. Then we have Oliver and Riley over here. All right, here we go. CSR Pagos yet again. So nice to see double CSR Pagos. The only difference is this one has the Amoonguss. And then right here from Riley Hickwell. This is one of the more standard Koraidon Lunala teams. You know, we got to see this from, you know, VR. Then it headed into Milwaukee. Then it transferred over to Utrecht. And now we see it again over here. So consistency of the squad is important, right? So once again, Koraidon Lunala looking pretty good here. And again, I would expect more or less the same kind of carry over into Portland, right? Because again, it's a grade 6. Ursaluna is like another restricted. Earthquake and Wide Guard is busted. Okay, so take advantage. And, you know, don't underestimate the power of Brute Bonnet there, okay? But yeah, so overall, interesting ideas within the top 8. All of them involve a lot of Calyrex Shadow Rider. So yeah, let's see how the rest of the tour did, just in terms of results, because there's a couple of cool teams here that I want to look at. All right, let's see how those Lunala Miraidon teams there. Again, it was the top usage duo, but there's a couple of ways that you can use them. And right now, the one that's picking up is, of course, the Screens idea with Incineroar and the Rillaboom. So the double terrain concept with the Lunala Miraidon here. So the point of this is that you've got the leftovers, and this is a Calm Mind Lunala that wants to be able to set up in your face, right? And then usually these are like Terra Fairy Moonblast stuff. That's Terra Fighting, okay? And then of course you have the Moongeist Beam, and then after that it just depends on what you want to do with the Lunala. Do you want to set up Trick Room, or do you want to just go straight up Protect? It's up to you, but at the very least you have Screens, and then you got double Fake Out, so all the more opportunity to set up the Calm Mind. You've got leftovers and Rillaboom Terrain Recovery, so all the more opportunity to, you know, get recovery and, you know, keep your Shadow Shield in check, right? After that, the team kind of varies depending on where you want to take it, but you know, this is always a pretty good starting 5. This last one is usually something like Urshifu, but it can also be something like an Ursaluna for that matter. So it really just depends on which one do you value more, right? So either the bear over here, or you got this other bear, right? So a couple of bears are looking really good with the Lunala Miraidon stuff. So if we look at Lab Mouse here, let's look at that. So this one here says, I'm gonna get some value out of the Iron Hands instead. Yeah, fine. It makes sense. It's great in Miraidon terrain. This is the Choice Scarf Miraidon with Snarl. So it's not Draco Meteor. I'm sorry, it's not Choice Spec stuff. This one is Calm Mind Protect. Yeah, usually they want Protect if you're going to run the Calm Mind stuff. So this way you can Protect one turn and get double recovery that you would get, you know, if you didn't Protect the previous turn. But look at this Instant. Oh, this one has Taunt Instant. Oh, that's really good. And then Screens, Grimmsnarl with Thunder Wave. And then Rillaboom over here. Yeah, pretty standard Rillaboom set. So this is one way to build around Calm Mind Lunala and the Miraidon stuff. Then if we look down here from Timothy Nurse, you know, again, similar fashion. This one does not use Rillaboom, okay? But this one doesn't even have Calm Mind Lunala in the first place. So if you don't have the Rillaboom, you don't need to do the Calm Mind stuff, right? With the leftovers. So this one is just straight up, give me Screens, give me Miraidon, give me Ursaluna, and then I'm gonna just go from there. Yeah, we've seen this build before. We saw this in Utrecht as well. And it's also going to be used in Portland. So be ready for this type of variant. And then if we look at this one from Sam Pendelis, I think this is more or less the same idea. And it pretty much is. So, you know, there it is. How about this one? All right, I see the Rillaboom. Okay, I see the Grimmsnarl. I see the Instant, right? I think this is going to be the Calm Mind variant. There it is. There's the Calm Mind variant. So, yeah, Urshifu's, this one has the Sash. This is the Scarf again. Is that more or less the same one that we saw over here? All right, no, this one had the Iron Hands instead, right? This one has the Urshifu. So, a little bit of variance, right? Which is okay. This one, even though this one went 5-3, okay, this one, again, no Rillaboom, no Calm Mind variant. But you got Instant Amoonguss Ursaluna, right? So you got the key 4 with the Trick Room concept. Now you add Screens. Now you add AV Miraidon, of course. So yeah, honestly, there's a couple ways to do this. Again, do you want Calm Mind or do you not want Calm Mind? Okay, and that will determine whether the Rillaboom comes on the team or not. Okay, and then of course you adjust your moveset moving forward. You get Wide Guard now, whereas the Calm Mind variants, they don't get Wide Guard. So that's something else to keep in mind. This one is a more hyper-offensive variant with the Whimsicott instead. Okay, so now you have double kinds of speed control that you can always rely on here. But you still have Wide Guard, you still have Trick Room with the Ursaluna. So up to you how you want to play that. No Iron Hands, so just keep that in mind. This one has the Chiyu on this, right? But again, still the same kind of concept. You still have the Tailwind idea with Miraidon. You still have Iron Hands and Miraidon along with Luna. Double Lunas here. Again, Earthquake, Wide Guard. So again, couple variances in the build depending on the play style that you, the viewer, or the player, I should say, want to take it here. So, you know, all in all, lots of different ways to build it. So this is also why it's also very flexible, and this is also why it's one of the, you know, very popular restricted pairings to use right now. Let's look at those Koraidon teams here, especially the Weezing ones. Look at how many Weezing were on these Koraidon teams. Okay, the one, of course, from first place that we looked at over here. Then we got 17th place here, 7-3 result from Damien Cullen. That's another one. And then how about here at 19th, Zachary Chia? Same thing. There's another Weezing there. And then there's another one over here. Even though this one was 5-3, still like pretty good. Again, almost there, right? And then, oh, I missed Genting Lu over here. Look at all the Weezing that's coming out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll count that. 5 Weezings, you know, within the top 46, you know, within those Koraidon teams there. So that's very interesting. That's very telling. Okay, here's another one if you want to count this one too. And this one also has the Ice Rider, might I add. So keep that in mind there. But yeah, you know what? Let's look at that one too. But let's start here with Damien Cullen. So right away, we don't have the Walking Wake, but that's okay. We do have the Chiyu. We don't have the double Dark Fire type there with Instant. Instead, we have a little bit of variance with the Ogerpon too. So let's look at this one here. So Damien is saying, look, I'm still going to keep the core the same. I'm still going to have the Koraidon, the Calyrex, and the Weezing, right? But Chiyu works very well with the Shadow Rider and Koraidon anyway. So I can add that, and I can always add the Chiyu because it's so good with either restricted, right? With the Shadow Rider, you do more damage. Great into the mirror. The Koraidon, you do boosted sun damage, of course. So you got the 4. Okay, you add the Weezing. There's your Taunt Will-O-Wisp user. There's your ability remover. Okay, and you've got, of course, the ability shield. You get to keep yours. And then back to Strange Theme over here. Now you add Iron Hands. Okay, now you add Ogerpon Cornerstone. So now a little bit of of stability, right? So you got a fake out user, you got a redirector here with follow me and sturdy, right? So you got things going for you, okay? And then at the same time, you have a little bit of disruption with the Weezing. So pretty cool team. You know, I like it. I do not hate this whatsoever. I think this is really, really smart, especially to add the Iron Hands onto something like this. So good job, Damien. Okay, this one from Zachary. He has similar ideas, again, with the Koraidon, Calyrex, Weezing, Chi-Yu, right? There's your 4, like we said. Okay, now let's add some balance stuff. Let's add the Brute Bonnet, okay? Give me the Brute Bonnet in that Ogre Pond slot. I get another Photosynthesis Mon. I have the threat of Spore, okay? I get that Dark typing for Sucker Punch, you know, for the Lunalas and the Calyrexes. Okay, we're in business. And Cobra Cloak is really good too. And now you add Raging Bolt, another Photosynthesis Mon. With the AV, you got E-Webs, okay? You're super bulky now. With the Assault Vest there, Thunderbolt, Thunderclap, Dragon Bolts there. You come in, get the special attack boost, deal some damage there, and this you get to have a good time is what I'm trying to say. So another way to build it if you want to look at that. Then as we go down here to get things, but I think this is more or less the same kind of build here. But we got Psychic and Encore with Spell Tag Calyrex. This is still AV Raging Bolt there. Right, I think this is the this one did not have the sash. That's why I'm looking at it. This one is there we go. There's the Poison Gas Weezing. Okay, so again, be aware of this. All that chip damage over time. Brute Bonnet. Oh, loaded dice Brute Bonnet. Hello. Okay, so Bullet Seed. Again, really good at breaking sash and breaking Shadow Shield. You know, I won't put it past the you know, in Portland, right? And then of course Rage Powder, Spore, and Sucker Punch there. A ability shield Koraidon here, and then the Scarf Chi-Yu. Again, pretty standard stuff there, but again, another really cool variant for the Galarian-Weezing Koraidon stuff. Then we look down here. Oh, by the way, that's an Iron Moth. We'll look at that a little bit later. This one right here at 5'3". I think this is more or less the same kind of squad here, right? Yeah, Strange Team, Taunt, Willis, Protect, Protect and Encore, Scarf Chi-Yu. Yeah, so similar ideas here. This is not Bullet Seed, Brute Bonnet there. But how about the Ice Rider one right here from Jack Roth? Look at this one here. So again, following suit here. But again, the Chi-Yu is still coming in, but no Calyrex Shadow Rider. Instead, we've got the Ice Rider instead. And look at this. You've got Fake Out. You got the Brute Bonnet here playing that Among Us role over there, which is going to help you set up the Trick Room. Then you got the Weezing, the Chi-Yu. Yeah, you know, pick your restricted, slap it on here. Give me Chi-Yu, give me Koraidon, and give me a Photosynthesis Mon. You know, we got the formula down packed over here. So, are you going to see this in Portland? Absolutely. So be ready for your Weezing games. Pressure the slot, okay? You know, force them to pivot. So this way, you know, they're incentivized. Look, I can't lose the Weezing. I got to switch it out. So get it off the field, okay? Don't ignore it. Sometimes you can because, you know, it just doesn't really deal that much damage. You don't care about Willis. You're a special attacker. But if you really need that ability of yours, you got to pressure the slot a little bit. But yeah, so let's see what happens with the Koraidon teams moving forward into Portland. But now we got this new development with the Weezings doing well here. And that's going to pick up over into Portland. So the typical stuff with Ursula is still going to be fine for sure, but now at least we get another way to play the Pokemon. All right, so for Kyogre, not as strong of a performance as it did in Utrecht, but there were some ideas here that we did get to also see in Utrecht, but also some interesting ones. How about here from Nicholas and Christopher Connier? How about Kyogre and Pelipper on the same team? Okay, so that's something you normally don't see. I can understand the Ice Rider, the Among Us, the Urshifu, right, and then Qianpao here, right? That we've seen before, but now we get the Pelipper here. Ooh, hello. So double Drizzle Pokemon on the same team here, which is, bro, this is Yo, this is Ability Shield Pelipper. Oh my goodness, we're really doing it, huh? We're really doing this. Ability Shield Pelipper. I've seen it all now. Okay, I respect it. I respect it. AV Ice Rider too. I love the AV. I've always been a fan of that set back in the, you know, Sword and Shield. Seed Bomb is kind of cool because Kyogre again, Urshifu, yes, and Crunch. How about your anti-Lunala, your anti-Calyrex tech there? So that's cool. And then Among Us here with also, I'm sorry, Qianpao also with Crunch over here. And it's also Among Us here. There's the Polypuff Sludge Bomb Among Us. Okay, yes. And it's Icy Wind Kyogre. Look at that. Covert Cloak Kyogre, Water Spout Orange Pulse Thunder, and an Icy Wind. How about manual speed control coming out of the Kyogre? This is I like it. You know, I respect it too. Did Chris run the same thing? I would imagine. Yeah, there we go. Of course. So it's tough to say. Will you see this Portland? I think someone's gonna use it, man. I think more than one person is actually gonna use it. So be on the lookout for this kind of Kyogre team, the double weather variant with Pelipper having the ability shield. I think that's pretty cool here. All right, this one. We've seen this before. Again, the Indeedee, the Weezing, the Dondozo, the Tatsugiri, the Calyrex, okay? The Poison Gas, you're putting things in range for the Dozo and the Calyrex to clean things up. And now the Kyogre also can exert pressure. The Choice Scarf means you don't have to worry about outspeeding the Shadow Rider because you will do it anyway. You put things in range with Water Spout first, and then after that, Specs Astro Barrage just kind of cleans up. Right, or your Dondozo can clean up depending on how you want to use the pairing. Maybe don't bring it at all. Maybe just do Indeedee, Weezing, Calyrex, and Kyogre and just go bonkers, right? So yeah, makes sense. Look, you've got Specs, Calyrex, you got Scarf, Ogre. You're gonna need Psychic Terrain to deny priority against these guys, right? Especially Fake Out. So makes sense. So I like it. And then Dondozo just is in a pretty good spot right now. So we'll have to see what happens moving forward. But then. What about the Zacian Kyogre teams here? Well, there's a Zamazenta one, which I guess we could look at first. Landers, you'll start to see a little bit more now, just because it looks pretty good with these Kyogre teams, and it matches well into Miraidon and the Iron Hands matchup. So Sandstone Storm double spread move there. Just be careful of Wide Guard. Zamazenta, standard set there. Instant, Rillaboom, Grimmsnarl, and then this is AV Kyogre there. So we're banking on longevity here. No Tailwind on this team, by the way. It's just straight up defensive stuff with screens, which you can definitely play. This one has the Kyogre Lunala concept where the Jugulis is giving you a Tailwind, and we have Hurricane, that's completely accurate in the rain. We have the Snarl user, we've got the Rillaboom, and we got the Urshifu Rapid Strike. This is the Calm Mind Lunala. If I see Rillaboom, I'm already thinking that, and that's exactly what we have here. And then we need a Redirector and a Fake Out user. How about Smeargle doing just that exactly? So follow me, Fake Out, Spore, and Decorate. Oh my goodness. Right? Imagine just, again, decorating this Kyogre and just going for these water spouts. It's busted, right? Or just decorating Lunala. It's super bulky. Can't break it. It has Shadow Shield. And then things are falling asleep. You bring in the Rillaboom, override Miraidon terrain, put things to sleep. Yeah, I can see this. This is really cool from Seekong. Then finally we get to see the 5-3 Zacian squad here with the Tailwind coming from the Roaring Moon as opposed to the Jugulis. You still get the Landers there, right? So you can see that as a little bit of a theme for a core. Kyogre, Zacian, Tailwind user, and Landorus, right? So in this case, it's Roaring Moon / Jugulis, maybe Tornadus. Then you got a little bit of stabilization here. Oh, this is Calm Mind Kyogre. Look at this. Rillaboom here with Terrain. Volcarona, again, also pretty cool. Pokemon, especially against Zamazenta, Koraidon stuff there. You know, just a Terragas Volcarona in the rain is also like pretty effective. Not big fire damage there. Okay, this one is with the Alchemy here. We got Room Service, Endeavor, Alchemy. Oh man. All right, and then you still got Ursaluna Indeedee stuff here, so this is pretty interesting in itself. Wait, was that Iron? Yo, that was Iron Ball Kyogre. Excuse me, Mr. Martin Perez. Iron Ball Kyogre. Oh, this is definitely like the slow ogre stuff. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I haven't seen this since like Sword and Shield. I think I saw like Iron Ball Groudon from like a Japanese team back in Sword and Shield days. That's pretty cool there. But yeah, you know, we are looking at Melbourne's, which always has like some wonky stuff there. Which I love seeing, you know, just because it's very different than the normal stuff that you'll get from like EU or NA stuff, right? But yeah, all in all, not a whole lot going for the ogre this time around. You know, just be notable of the ability shield Pelipper. So that was the thing I really wanted to pinpoint there. Some other noteworthy Calyrex Ice Rider teams, besides the ones that were within the top 8. Now, if we look at Joji's team, that is a Groudon, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Groudon has had a result here at Melbourne Regionals. Okay, look at this. Instant Among Us Calyrex makes sense. Okay, we know that core all too well. But look at the Calyrex build there. Lumberry, Trick Room, in prison. Okay, Joji saying enough is enough. I'm tired of playing the mirror. I'm tired of seeing Glacial Lance and body presses coming out from Zamazenta and stuff. So let's just go in prison. Let's shut that down immediately, right? So I respect it, and let's shut down Trick Room from another opponent. So this way they can't use that either. So, you know, all the more welcome power to Joji there. And of course, Lumberry. They're tired of Grimmstomp paralysis stuff. They're tired of Will-O-Wisp. So makes sense. I respect the Lumberry. And of course, that's also going to be good at getting around a Mungus that wants to click Spore and Trick Room when you set up Trick Room, right? Groudon here, it's AV. Okay, we're back to Sword and Shield days. We got P-Blades, Heat Crash, Brick Break, and High Horsepower. There's the tech. There's the Brick Break tech for the Grimmsnarl. Okay, I like it a lot. I love it. AV Groudon, you are not breaking this thing, especially, you know, without Dynamax. So yeah, then now you add the physical damage reduction with Incineroar coming in. Groudon may miss some moves, but you can stay alive where you can get another crack at it, okay, which is the key here. So yeah, the point is give the Groudon its bulk, right? So this way, even if you miss once, you can still win because you can get another shot at it. Raging Bolt here, it's Life Orb, so it's going to do a lot of damage with Groudon here. You got the Bolt Beam coverage like we've been saying before. So nice little core there with the Sun idea with the Photosynthesis and the Bolt Beam coverage with the Calyrex. Amoonguss Raging Bolt is also very good in terms of a lead. It's a nice little balance there. And then Fluttermane here because again, more Photosynthesis. Moonblast, Shadow Ball, Taunt, and Protect. No Icy Wind here. And we are Sash. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. A lot of, you know, normal Mons, but it's all about finding the pieces to surround the restricted pairing that you want. In this case, you can have Instant Amoonguss, which have always done well either way with Groudon and or Calyrex. So that pair alone is good. There's your defensive backbone, of course. And then Raging Bolt, again, also does well with Groudon and Calyrex. So it was an easy partner here. And then finally, you can just throw in the Fluttermane, you know, just for being the faster ghost type against the Shadow Rider, where you can pin it with Shadow Ball, especially if they don't have the Sash. Or you can just use this as a Moonblast nuker into other things here, right? So I like it. But now look at this. Okay, there was a couple of these teams. The Okie Dokie variant with Glimmora. I have not seen Glimmora in months, okay? It's been months since I've last seen Glimmora in a competitive format here, but the return happened, okay? Look at this. It's Venoshock Mortal Spin Glimmora. How about that? And then the Calyrex is leftovers with, again, the Leech Seed with the Rillaboom. You're going to get so much recovery. It's going to be so annoying to remove this thing, man. Okie Dokie Assault Vest. Okay, Guard Dog, of course, you know, you have leftovers Calyrex, so that means you're prone to Intimidate. Let's get some Anti-Intimidate onto the team. Let's go with the Okie Dokie. We got Drain Punch, CC, Gunk Shot, Throat Chop. Makes sense. I have no complaints about that set. Again, you have your stabs and then Throat Chop with the Dark type tech there. Useful against your expected targets, the Lunalas and the Calyrex. Scarf Miraidon again with Snarl. Starting to see a lot more Scarf, man. People are tired of playing the mirror, so now they're going Scarf, and now they're saying, I gotta be faster. I'm tired of the speed ties with the Draco Meteors. I have the Scarf, I am the faster. Until, of course, you both play each other and you both have the Scarf, right? Then Instant Rillaboom stuff. Pretty self-explanatory here with Glimmora with the Sash there. Again, poisoning things with Venoshock is funny. I just gotta say that right now, man. But yeah, nice to see a little bit of a resurgence there from the Glim. I would imagine this team from Shichangpun is the same team. Yeah, it looks like it, right? So, yeah, is this gonna carry over? I think so. It's tough to say, actually. I don't know. I don't know if people are picking up on the Okie Dokie Glimmora sauce just yet there. But some other stuff here. We got Nicholas, another Nicholas over here. Look at this one. Valiant and the Ape here. Final Gambit coaching, Choice Scarf. Oh, more double coaching here. Okay, with Spirit Break, Encore, Iceman. Great set. I love this Iron Valiant set. Wide Guard Pelipper. Okay, with Calyrex here. Pelipper and Miraidon on the same team. You don't see that often. Okay, but at the very least, I don't have to commit a restricted slot to get Wide Guard on my team. And I also get Weather Control and Tailwind at the same time. So, pretty cool mon the Pelipper is. Is there any other noteworthy ones? Yeah, how about this one? You know, with Miraidon, again, another Scarf variant, with the Volcarona Iron Hands Pawn and the Fergaf. So you got your Miraidon, Corbett, Fergaf, and Iron Hands. You add the restricted and Ice Rider. Give me Volk, give me Cornerstone, give me 2 proven support Pokemon, and this is exactly what we're looking at. We've seen Volcarona before on these Miraidon teams, so no surprise here. I want to look at this one. I know it went 5T, but again, 1 win away. You've got the Enamorous with the choice specs here on this Calyrex Lunala team. This is pretty expected with Smeargle and Indeedee over here. Looks like Hard Trick more or less, and it is. And now we've got Enamorous coming in, clicking hard spread damage here with Dazzling Gleam. Specs, Moonblast is also very strong there. Earth Power and Psychic. Okay, so we can always use that for nuking, and then Psychic again, relatively niche, but nice against Amoonguss when you think about it, right? So I like this. Oh, with terrain too. You know, again, that's gonna do even more damage. I like it. I think there's some creativity there for sure. And then this one, you know, also with Pelipper, but now you add Landers too, and this is the Scarf Landers. So another interesting concept moving forward. Miraidon, Calyrex, Pelipper teams, and maybe consider adding the Landers there. So who knows if that could be another recurring theme there. But again, needs a little bit of exploration, right? But again, people are not afraid to try different things right now. Because the format is still like relatively new. So yeah, again, if you want to be like this user and use Gilmora, Okidogi, go for it. It looks pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. Anytime I get to use Okidogi is always a good time. So Incineroars are not gonna like him. So yeah, go ahead and mess around with it. All right, now let's look at some of these Zamazenta teams here, and you can see a lot of you know, familiar supporting cast members here. But the one that I really want to spotlight is actually not even Zamazenta. It's this team right here in 14th place, Drew Bliss with the I almost forgot its name over here, with the Giratina-Origin, man. We spoke about this in our day 1 recap when we looked at Utrecht. But here we go, Giratina-Origin. We did get to use this back in Regulation G, and the idea with Levitate and Terra Fire is that the Calyrex Ice Rider can't hit this thing. You're right, you can't click Glacial Lance all that well because it gets resisted, and you can't even click High Horsepower because you have Levitate. So how is the Ice Rider supposed to beat you? You don't. And then the Giratina has a super effective Ghost move into it. And now you add stuff like Chenpao over here to make it do even more damage, which is kind of funny. And now the Giratina becomes like a very bulky sweeper, if you can even imagine that, right? But now let's say you don't even have the option to go for the Terra Fire. So now you're still weak to Glacial Lance. But this is why you have Zamazenta that can be a partner for it and be able to click that wide guard support, so this way you don't have to worry about the Glacial Lance over there, right? And you know, the Dragon typing just makes it so that you're resisting the Fire, Water, Grass stuff altogether. And then at the same time, you know, again, priority Shadow Sneak, which is important against Calyrex, which is also important against Lunala, breaking that Shadow Shield, might I add. And then you get the Draco Meteor. Oh my goodness. Okay. A special move over there. So if you want to nuke with that, yeah, go for it. But everything else is relatively standard. Look, Chenpao, Entei, Zamazenta, we've seen that already. Urshifu, Rillaboom, also very, very familiar. 5. So like the rest of the team is been used before in like older formats, right? But now we just have a Giratina-Origin on this. So the Mon will definitely merit more exploration because again, I like the typing with Terra Fire, okay, and that Levitate ability, which is very important. Because think about it, how about Ursaluna? How does Ursaluna hit Giratina? You can't click Facade, you can't click Earthquake. What do you have to hit the Giratina with? Nothing, okay? That's another Pokemon that gets walled out by Giratina. I want to do like a whole separate video on Giratina, by the way, because I think it definitely will merit some exploration. So stay tuned for a team building video on Giratina-Origin. This is one idea. Okay, it is not the only idea. I've got some stuff cooking up there, all right? And I'm going to show you those ideas in a future video. But I like the Mon just in terms of where its placement. It sounds crazy when you think about it, but if you look at the typing, you look at what's popular right now, okay, the Giratina has a bit of an advantage. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so more on that a little bit later. But as far as like the rest of the stuff, you've seen these ideas before. So You've seen Zamaz. Oh, how about this one from Shohei? How about Zamazenta screens with Miraidon? We've seen this before, right? So here we go. Grimmsnarl screens, Iron Hands, Miraidon, standard. You add Zamazenta, okay. You add Chetpal with Zamazenta, also okay. Volcarona, familiar partner on these Miraidon teams. Yeah, this becomes your endgame win con, especially with Quiver Dance. So all in all, I don't have a problem with this. It's a pretty standard Zamazenta Miraidon kind of team. Okay, other than that, you're gonna often see this partner with Shadow Rider, and then the question is there gonna be Tornadus Tailwind or not? And usually if there isn't, it's another balanced type of mon. But if there is, very standard team right here from Thomas Chen. Look at this. Sash Calyrex, Life Orb Chenpao, give me Ursh, give me Rillaboom, you know, with Chenpao for physical damage, all the priority in the world with Fake Out, Grassy Glide, Sucker Punch, and Aqua Jet. And then the Tornadus being able to control weather against some of those Koraidon teams, which is now a little bit more difficult because they now have the Weezing on their side. Being able to take away your Prankster is huge. So stay tuned for that. But if not Tornadus, you know, you might as well just slap on an Amoonguss, right? This is also relatively standard and proven. And you know, it's just not very interesting right now with some of these squads, except for that Giratina one. But again, I guess we gotta spotlight Andy Brophy, right? Because he's the one who gave the graphics. So what were we doing here? Yeah, he's the only one with the Ditto here in the Day 2, from what I understand, right? And makes sense. I think this is the Joe UX9 build, more or less. The inspiration coming from there, yes. But let me just see if there's anything out of the order. No, it's pretty standard. You know, again, I like it. A lot of proven ideas, a lot of things that may be annoying to deal with, especially with the Ditto in the endgame copying your restricted, right? You always have to be aware of that. But shout outs to Andy, man. You know, great job with the result there. 7-3, top 30 there. Congratulations. And good graphics. Once again, thank you, Andy, if you're watching. I don't know if you are, but if you are, thank you very much. Besides that, yeah, some standard stuff there. This one is a little bit out of the ordinary. How about, let's look at this one with the Tinglu. Yeah, I mean, Tinglu Zamazenta is also something that has been successful before. So if you want to go a little bit more exploration with that, sure, you've got Grimmsnarl Instant. Very passive though. Not a lot of damage coming out there, but you do have Kyogre. But I don't know if you need all three of these options with Tinglu, Instant, and Grimmsnarl. Maybe two of the three is enough there, but I respect it. How about this one with Comfey over here? 5-3 William Pie. Do we need the Comfey? I'm a little confused as to why this thing is here. I guess priority draining kiss is a thing to break Shadow Shield and whatnot. Flora healing, I guess. Yeah, healing is appreciated, right? I don't know what we're supposed to have with this thing. Doesn't even have Trick Room, so I'm a little confused there. But I respect it. Oh, how about another? Oh no, I think that's the same kind of like Giratina-Origin stuff, right? Is it? Yeah, it is. Okay, so I guess there was a little bit of a team building group there, which, you know, you gotta respect when you think about it. But all right, anyway, pretty standard stuff in terms of balance. Things we've seen before, nothing too crazy besides the Giratina team. All right, with the Ho-Oh teams here, not a whole lot going on here with some of their carryover with Miraidon, but there is one type of team that I did get to see here, and you know, a few people were using it, so I would imagine there's some commonality in terms of team building, as far as like the team building group. But let's look at 16th play here from James Castaros, right? Katsaros. Okay, there we go. It screens with the Instant and Rillaboom, so defensive backbone. How about the return of Clefairy here, by the way? That tells me this is probably going to be, and it is, set up Calyrex with nasty plot there. Ho-Oh coming onto this team with Tailwind support. So now, again, a team like this, you know, you can very much see yourself like pivoting in and out a lot, especially with like Instant, Rillaboom, and Clefairies in and out. And for good reason, right? You're trying to fight for board state. Ho-Oh loves the pivot game because, again, Regenerator lets it, you know, get HP back and forth. You got Life Dew Clefairy, which is always an interesting idea, you know, when you have Regenerator on your side, being able to swap in and out. Grimmsnarl, again, doing Grimmsnarl things, nothing too crazy there. But yeah, I mean, that was another thing that resolved, you know, besides like the Miraidon stuff there. And I think we see it over here. Same build, right? Yeah, so congrats. And this one right here from Matthew Robinson. Yeah, it's pretty much the same build. So three Ho-Oh Calyrex Shadow Rider teams. So another new partner has been born. Okay, and then besides that, you got the Miraidon typical stuff. with Instant, Iron Hands, Ogrepon. Yeah, we've seen this already. A lot of these teams also have the ground type with either the Iron Treads like this one, you know, especially with the recovery with Sinistra, which looks pretty good with Miraidon and Ho pivoting in and outs. I respect that. Or you also have it over here, the Ho along with the Ursaluna and Eternatus. By the way, there's some synergy with Ursaluna and Ho because you can soak up an electric attack, you can click Earthquake next to the Ho. But how about the Eternatus over here? Cosmic Power Fire Spin, man. Yeah, we're playing this way, huh, Jim Sullivan, right? How long did these matches take? I respect it though. You got the right tools. You got the recovery. You got the Grim Insnarl. That would be the first thing I would suggest if you wanted to run this type of Eternatus set. And then the Ursaluna is just like the icing on the cake over here. There's your damage dealer, might I add. Yeah, I mean, nice to see Ho-Oh find a new partner besides the Miraidon stuff. Again, Ho-Oh looking really good against Koraidons and Zamazentas and whatnot. The fire flying typing is good against those restrictors there. And of course, Sacred Fire Burn hurts a lot. Brave Bird pressure against Koraidon is always devastating. And then again with the Urshifu, if you're faster, you can Brave Bird it and just remove it. Same thing with like Amoonguss. Yeah, but this is what we got. You know, will we see Ho-Oh Calyrex Shadow Rider in Portland? To be determined. All right, folks, so that's going to do it for now in terms of recapping the results. So let me know if there's something else that stood out at you that you saw from Melbourne. But again, we do expect some carryover into Portland, right? You're definitely going to see some of these Koraidon-Weezing Sun teams. I think Pagos Calyrex Shadow Rider is also still looking pretty good. It has had top placements so far at every one of the big regionals. So look for that. I think the Kyogre variants are still going to need a little bit more exploration, but there have been good successful builds from Utrecht, right? So we'll see if the Pelipper variant with the ability shield in this one also picks up at Portland. But besides that, the Lunala Calm Mind Screens idea is looking pretty good. The Zamazenta Calyrex Shadow Rider builds right now are as of right now what you would expect. It's just the balance stuff, okay? And then the Calyrex Ice Rider teams, they don't always necessarily need the Miraidon, but it is their most successful partner right now. But maybe you'll see some of the hard Trick Room stuff, you know, with the Ice Rider. But Ice Rider Koraidon is still something to pay attention to. And then, of course, Lunala, Ursaluna, Wide Guard plus Earthquake is really, really strong. Maybe someone is going to be adventurous and explore Giratina and use it at Portland. Who knows? What's the, say about that? But again, to me, it looks like it's in a pretty decent spot just with that typing and with that ability with Levitate there. So we'll see what happens looking forward. And again, what I said about Dondozo, I still think it's true. There's not a lot of checks for it right now. So if you are an experienced Dozo player, I think it's a great pickup to try and utilize right now. Lead Sheet Calyrex Ice Rider is the truth. Okay, so I maybe we'll just get a little bit more taunt users moving forward. But yeah, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.